Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. We are out on location again this week and we are going to go into my friend Justin's temperate greenhouse. He has many temperate carnivorous plants. It puts my little temperate carnivorous plant greenhouse that you guys like to look at just to shame. He has hundreds or thousands of plants in there. How many plants do you have in there?
I think it's close to 500 or 600 now.
So we're going to look at about 500 or 600 temperate carnivorous plants today. Sarracenia'S.
There's some pinguiculas, Drosera, lots of fly traps, but mostly just Sarracenias.
Okay, so why don't we go in and have a quick look?
Awesome, that's good.
Cool. All right, so let's go in and have a look here. And why don't we just start at the door here? And now these are all Sarracenia here, right?
Yeah, we all have all Sarracenias in this bench until you get to the end, which is, we've got some of the Temperate Sundews as well.
Okay, well let's just start right here. This one looks amazingly white. On camera it is just, the white is popping. Why don't you tell me a little bit about this one first?
This one right here is a Leucophila variety Alba, and this one's from Hurricane Creek. It's an Alabama population, and it's the whitest of the white for the Leucophilas. And anyone that knows the Leucophilas, they're all a fall dominant species. So these are just the smaller spring pitchers. You'll get the really gaudy, huge pitchers coming in the fall.
Yeah, exactly. These are baby pitchers. So
yeah.
Maybe we'll have to check these out in the fall too.
I like that.
All right, and all your flowers they're basically getting in our way of filming here.
They totally are.
They're almost past their prime. They're all sort of faded, but we have all kinds of flowers here. Most people don't even know that these plants flower. So,
and a couple of the rubers are still in flower over here, and they're a nice little flower. We'll try to get to show some.
Yeah, we'll try to show some. Now these ones, they don't have their petals anymore. They just I see a pod swelling here.
This one's actually, I'm quite excited about this pod. I've crossed this, so this is the mother plant, the Leucophila alba, and I've crossed it to an anthocyan-free Leucophila. So all of the progeny will be normal Leucophilas, but they'll carry the recessive antho-free gene. So I'll be able to cross the two siblings in the future and hopefully get very white antho-free Sarracenia leucophila. You can see this is the pretty standard antho-free leucophila, not very white.
For our viewers that don't know, antho-free meaning?
It has no pigment. Okay. So the coloration of all the Sarracenias, the red that you get, so you can see some red over here, that comes from a pigment called anthocyan. And so you get mutants that are anthocyan free that will produce none of that pigmentation. It's
perfect. Okay.
Yeah.
There we go. Now we all learned something.
Exactly. But speaking of flowers, there's an interesting one back here that we can try to see. This is Leucophila tarnock, and it's a double flowered or even more form of Leucophila. And you can see all of the sepals there just packed together. Yeah, it's sort of a mutant flower.
Looks very different than the one beside it, even in the same shot.
Totally.
Yeah, cool. Why don't we move down a little bit and see what else we have here.
So the next ones, once again, these are more alatas. And the alatas are once again a fall species. I've tried to keep all the fall stuff on this side so that they grow sort of more consistently. But these are the smaller spring traps. In the fall, you'll get 3-foot traps that are twice the size of it.
Nice, yeah.
Yeah.
It's nice this time of year because we do get to see all the flowers. So you can see a bunch of flowers back there.
Large cluster of a couple different locations of rhubarb back here. One thing I'll mention that I just said location. All of my Sarracenias in this greenhouse, except for a couple of the novelty hybrids, all have location data. So they all came from certain locations in Alabama or North Carolina. So I have the site that the seed was collected.
Right, awesome. It's definitely good to have, all that information on the tags and everything.
Totally.
Yeah, for divisions and that.
And what I do is I have a coding system. I stole it from a good friend of mine, Carl. And so you can see right here, this is his code. So I know it's one of a plant from him. This is GAWH01. So I know that's a Georgia wild hybrid #1.
Cool.
And you can see I know I know all my codes very well. So this is a Flavarugelii by a minor. It's from Liberty County, Florida.
Yeah, you can definitely see the minor in it.
Totally.
With the hood.
And now see the Rugelii throat just coming in there with the little red. And one thing I do find in our greenhouse here is with the twin wall polycarbonate, it's not, the color doesn't pop as soon as they open, unlike that's what would happen outside. I find the color slowly fades and they get more and more colorful as the time goes on.
Okay, cool. And this is one of my favorites here. I like it just because it's a little bit different. It's the hooded pitcher, right?
Yes, this
So,
is
what are some of
Sarracenia
this
Minor. We've got a couple different ones here. They grow pretty consistently throughout the summer. You can see they just make nice little patches of plants. You can see there's a little spider in there as well.
Cool.
I actually have a nice one that I'll show you. That's a seed-grown one in a little bit.
Okay, that sounds great. Move down a little bit. Okay, so I'm looking at this one here. This big red one has been in the camera. It's popping in the camera here. Why don't you tell me a little bit about this one?
This one's a nice open pollinated hybrid. I'm usually a species nut that really likes all of the location data species, and I usually shun all of the hybrids to the side. But this one caught my eyes a couple years ago. It's the pod parent was Sarracenia copper vase, which is quite similar to it, but I found that this little seedling outside was jet black. And come later in the summer, there won't be you won't see a single vein in there. You won't see any green. It'll be solid red all the way to the base.
It's absolutely amazing.
It's a pretty cool plant. I'm excited to try a division of it outside next year. And
just the structure of it looks so beefy and stocky and
it is.
Yeah, it's really nice. And so we have one tall one up there.
This one's
that's a flava?
This one's actually a flava by Leucophilia. It's called a Murray. And so this one's Brooks hybrid, they call it. I forget exactly where this guy came from, but it came from a Mike King population.
Okay.
This is a pretty cool one down here. This one likes to get tucked away.
He was tucked away. Look at that.
I'll show you what that guy is right there.
There. Let's get a shot of that. Absolutely beautiful.
This one is Sarracenia Purpurea, variety or subspecies venosa, variety Burkii, crossed with Oreophylla. We've got a couple different Purpureas by Oreophyllus, and that's the nicest one. And I find it gets nice big hoods in the greenhouse.
Yeah.
So it gets to take up a little bit of space in here.
Yeah, definitely. That was really nice. What else do we have down here?
We actually have some nice flowers still open here. You can see these are anthocyane-free flowers as well. This one right here is Minor by Sarracenia. So Sarracenia has normally red flowers. Actually, this one's just finished over here. So normally, actually, we got a good comparison here. This is a normal Minor by Sarracenia. You can see the red flowers into there. This one's just finishing. This one's still there. But this is the anthocyane-free version of it. Cool. And they've got the yellow flowers to them. You can see the bright green plant down here.
Let's just have a look at that.
So you can see bright green leaves compared to the old, and these are last year's pictures still, but compared to the red leaves from the year before.
Totally. All right, let's move down a little bit more. And there's some big ones at the back. Now, there's one in a huge pot here. What is...
We'll shift this aside here.
There's a big one up there.
The big guy back here, this is Oreophylla by Flava, and it is a beast. It was ripped apart in the middle of the spring, so it was set back a little bit, but last year I had 36-inch pitchers out of those. Wow. The flowers are just finishing, but it turns into a beast in the middle of the summer.
And so this is another one. Do the pitchers get bigger as the summer goes on?
Totally. Yeah. This one gets bigger and bigger as the season goes on. Yeah. And then it stops usually midsummer, and then it is usually finished from that point on.
Right. Now I notice on this one, compared to some of the others, we have these leaves down here. Now, how come these leaves are different than the normal pitchers?
These leaves are called phyllodia. They're basically non-carnivorous leaves that are only for photosynthesis. So what these leaves do is they form in the fall and they catch the sun rays all winter and in the spring, and it really gives a boost to the plant in the spring.
Okay. So then in your opinion, when you're trimming off for the fall, we want to leave those leaves on?
That's totally what I do.
Yeah.
Some people are very particular and they like to buzz their plants to the ground. I find that really stops them in the fall or in the spring. They take their time and they really are slow to get going. I like to, it's usually at this part of the season when the first flush of pitchers are coming and they're starting to feed themselves. That's when I'll go through and trim out all the phyllodia.
Okay. So you will be taking those off eventually?
Exactly. I'll be taking them out in probably a month.
Okay. And now just the opposite right down there is a beautiful, now what is this one we're looking at?
This one right here is Sarracenia Purpurea, variety or subspecies Purpurea, and this one's from Delaware. I have a hard time growing perp in our climate, especially in the greenhouse. It just seems like it's a little bit too hot, and they just sort of pitter out. I find that this clone does very, very well, though, all year long. It's a consistent grower.
Right.
I've given away tons of divisions, and it just year after year is a consistent plant for me.
So what do you find just summer temperatures in here?
The summer temperatures can get quite warm. I actually find the spring temperatures just before we open up the gables are the hottest. It gets to about 45 in here on the hottest parts of the spring when we don't open the vents.
And so that's 45 Celsius.
45 Celsius, yes. And then in the winter, it'll go down to about 2 to 3 degrees. We found that this winter we didn't actually have to use a heater at all, and we still had no frost and no freezes in here. We overwintered subtropical sundews with no problem at all.
So you say you use a heater. So even though these are temperate, you like to keep them above freezing? You don't like them to freeze?
These ones, my outdoor ones, so I have pretty much everything in here. I have outdoors as well. They all freeze solid. They're perfectly fine in our climate to go completely frozen into blocks of ice.
Yeah.
But the only reason I'd like to keep it a little bit warmer in here is all of the subtropical stuff. So like a bunch of the sundews and some of the some of the less hardy flytrap clones.
Fair enough. Now it looks like we're getting into some sundews here. Here's a big one. Right in
we'll shift that aside there.
If we can. You can see some insects caught in there.
And so this one right here is Banata, and they call it Dichromatum giant. And it doesn't fork as much as something like the Extrema, but it's not just a two-pronged one like typical Banata.
But to give somebody an idea, that's probably 2 feet from base to the tip of some of those, maybe a little bit more. That? Yeah.
And it's really getting going this year.
Yeah.
And all of those leaves were completely at the ground a couple weeks, like I'd probably say 8 weeks ago. There was no growth at all on those.
Wow.
They really kick into growth.
Wow. And so it looks like an albiform of...
This one right here, it looks like an albiform, but this one actually is it's a plant called Drosera Californica. And it's sort of a misleading name because you'd think it'd be from California. It's actually a natural hybrid between Filiformis and Tracei. And there is an alba version of it, but this one right here
one is not it.
Yeah, it's a regular one.
Okay.
But the Tracei gives the whole plant that more green, glistening look to it.
Yeah. Now I want to try to get up and show you guys this flower here. This is just gorgeous here. Let me zoom in a little bit on this. See if we can get a good shot of that.
And we missed it. We missed it yesterday. There was 2 flowers open. They were the first flowers to open on this.
They look huge.
This is one of the largest flowers in the genus. This is Drosera Hamiltonii. It's from Western Australia.
There's a plant down there. It's just a small plant.
It's just a small plant, not more than 1.5 inches across, and that's about full grown for the rosettes.
Wow.
But the flowers, yesterday, each one of those flowers is, 1 inch across or more.
Yeah, wow, that's amazing. The flower's as big as the plant, and all the flowers are up on very high stems.
Yeah, you can see back there how high it is pulled off the plant. You see when it's compared to there. You can see how much.
Yeah, look at that. We can't even get it in the same shot. There's a flower up there, and nice. So
the one thing I'll mention with this is when you have stems like this, the air movement is quite important. We've turned the fan off today because we didn't want it blowing on us all during the video. But by giving the fan the constant air movement, it strengthens the stem as it goes up. If you were to grow this and there was no air movement, these stems would just fall right over.
Okay.
You can see even on the capensis, they're very, very sturdy stems, almost woody.
Good to know. That's a great tip, actually. So we have a whole tray of seedlings back here, or smaller plants anyways. Why don't we just take a quick break, and maybe we should do like a little second section, second part of the greenhouse tour, and you can show some of your seedling plants. How's that sound?
That sounds great.